If you didn't already know, Land Rover has taken over the luxury SUV market. Once a super rugged off-roading machine has now turned into a super luxury SUV with a 4x4 badge. On the other hand, the Range Rover is a model under the Land Rover brand. But that's just a short answer to the title of this video. People often refer to the Range Rover as a standalone brand because saying Land Rover Range Rover evokes some kind of feeling. In this video, we'll be going in depth over the history and major differences between Land Rover and Range Rover. We'll also be looking at which is better for you if you're looking to invest in a luxury SUV. You don't want to miss out on this one, so make sure to stick around and watch right till the end. Now, the difference between a Land Rover and a Range Rover SUV can be confusing. We already mentioned that Land Rover and Range Rover go hand in hand. That is, they come under the same umbrella of the Land Rover brand. At a basic level, Land Rover is the company, while Range Rover is a kind of vehicle that the company makes. Land Rover makes both Land Rovers and Range Rovers. To further complicate matters, both types of vehicles are all-wheel drive SUVs with British heritage. They both are great off-road, and they're both called Rover. So how do you tell the difference between them? First, some history about the Land Rover brand. Land Rover was originally owned by a now-defunct British automaker called Rover Company. The first Land Rover model debuted way back in 1948 as a tough vehicle, modelled after the Jeeps used in World War II. The early choice of colour was dictated by military surplus supplies of aircraft cockpit paint, so early vehicles only came in various shades of light green. Starting with the Series I Land Rover, all models in this era featured sturdy box-section ladder-frame chassis. The original model was so popular that it evolved into its own company, the Land Rover Company, in 1978. Before that, it was a product line of the Rover Company, which was absorbed into the Rover Triumph division of the British Leyland Motor Corporation, BL, following Leyland Motor Corporation's takeover of Rover in 1967. Land Rover launched the Range Rover SUV, a utilitarian body-on-frame truck with outstanding off-road capability, in 1970. The ongoing commercial success of the original Land Rover series models and the Range Rover in the 1970s, amid BL's well-documented business troubles, prompted the establishment of a separate Land Rover company under the BL umbrella, remaining part of the subsequent Rover Group in 1988 under the ownership of British Aerospace after British Leyland was broken up and privatised. Land Rover was briefly owned by BMW in the 1990s. In 2000, Rover Group was broken up by BMW and Land Rover was sold to Ford Motor Company, becoming part of its premier automotive group. The transition to BMW ownership only just preceded the introduction of the second-generation Range Rover, before launching Land Rover's first unibody model, the Freelander, in 1997. BMW was then responsible for much of the development of the Range Rover 3, the first to have a monocoque structure and independent suspension, introduced under Ford in late 2001. Today, both the Land Rover and Range Rover brands are now owned by Tata Motors, an Indian company. They have been owned by Tata since 2008. But now, let's look at a few ways to differentiate between Land Rover and Range Rover SUVs. First, let's look at the Land Rover. Land Rover is the brand that makes both Land Rovers and Range Rovers. The Land Rover is focused on utility, practicality, and off-road prowess. Land Rover currently sells two sport utility vehicles, the Discovery Sport and the Discovery. Unlike most Range Rover models, Land Rovers also come with an optional third row to accommodate 7 passengers. Land Rovers start around $37,800 and can go as high as $80,000 depending on how they are outfitted. Similar to Range Rovers, Land Rover vehicles boast luxury features and high-end cabins full of utility and comfort. The truck's sleek, muscular stance suggests that it can tackle tough terrain or power effortlessly down the highway. Land Rover's vehicles are particularly suited to adventure-seeking buyers and off-road driving. Models come standard with a terrain response system, which includes hill start assist, hill descent control, and gradient acceleration control. Drive modes allow the driver to customize dynamics for grass, sand, gravel, mud ruts, snow, or rock crawling. Buyers can add an adaptive air suspension, a 2-speed transfer case, and a self-adjusting terrain response system. Despite their robust off-road performance, Land Rovers remain luxury vehicles at heart. When it comes to pricing, the Land Rover Discovery starts at $37,800. The Discovery Sport starts at around $53,000. You have plenty of options, as you can opt for luxurious additions like seating upgrades that include heated and ventilated front and second row seats, massaging front seats, heated third row seats, and 4-zone climate control. The brand also debuted a third model, a revival of its Defender nameplate. This now sits at the top of the Land Rover lineup portfolio and is meant to be a competitor to the Toyota Land Cruiser. Speaking of the Range Rover, it's a model under the Land Rover brand. It also tends to be more expensive than Land Rovers and is targeted at wealthy buyers. The Range Rover brand currently makes 4 SUVs of various sizes. They include the Evoque, a small SUV with lots of styles, the mid-size Velar, and Range Rover Sport full-size Range Rover. The Range Rover lineup is currently in its 5th generation, having been launched in 2022. These come with better mileage and engines, as well as 2 plug-in hybrid EVs, 3 diesel and 2 petrol JLR 3.0 L Ingenium. i6 engine options, the car will be the first from Land Rover to use an engine developed under the combustion and electrified powertrain partnership agreed between JLR and BMW in 2019, as a 4.4L BMW JLR V8 engine is also an option. It was launched with a range of mild hybrid diesel and petrol engines, with plug-in hybrids due in early 2022 and an all-electric model in 2024. Range Rovers are heavily influenced by the Land Rover. It's known for combining refined interiors with capable off-road abilities. Range Rovers start in the mid-$40,000. The Evoque is the most affordable Range Rover, and prices can climb as high as $200,000 and more depending on how you choose to outfit your Range Rover. Range Rovers can also be equipped with a variety of engines, from the Evoque's 246 horsepower Turbo 4 to the special edition Range Rover Autobiography's supercharged V8. Range Rovers are considered to be urban luxury vehicles, but the SUVs also come with a host of off-road technology that allows them to handle tough off-road situations, just like their Land Rover brothers. They have systems that can ford rivers, scale mountains, and cross deserts. Standard features on most Range Rovers include hill descent control, a terrain response system that tailors the vehicle's dynamics to the terrain, and a single-speed transfer case. These all-wheel drive vehicles come with plenty of ground clearance, a wading depth of about 2 feet, and plenty of towing capacity. Buyers can add an adaptive air suspension, a rock crawl mode, and an upgraded terrain response system that adjusts automatically. All 4 Range Rover models seat 5 passengers across their 2 rows. The Range Rover Sport can seat 7 with an optional 3rd row. Some models also can be outfitted with an extended wheelbase. These were just the features of the 2 models. They give us a better picture in understanding which model has more improved features. But what's the difference between a Land Rover and a Range Rover? As you can guess, Range Rovers tend to put more emphasis on luxury and performance, whereas Land Rovers tend to be more robust off-roaders. Range Rover makes 4 different models, and Land Rover makes 2. All 6 nameplates vary in price, size, and off-road capability. As a company, Land Rover has created distinct reputations for Range Rover and Land Rover vehicles. Land Rover vehicles are rugged and capable. Range Rover vehicles are luxurious and refined. Both are made to conquer unpaved terrain and tow boats and trailers. However, Range Rover models are higher end and more expensive than Land Rover trucks, and their customers are likely to keep their vehicles on the road rather than taking them off-roading. We already know that the Range Rover is the more luxurious and expensive SUV model, but which among these 2 is the larger one? Well, both these brands come in a range of sizes across the compact, mid-size, and full-size SUV segments. Range Rover models generally tend to be smaller than their Land Rover counterparts. For example, Range Rover's entry-level model, the Evoque, is more compact than Land Rover's smallest model, the Discovery Sport. The Discovery Sport has more passenger room, cargo space, and towing capacity than the Evoque. The Range Rover Velar is smaller than the Land Rover Discovery, which comes with an optional 3rd row. The Range Rover Sport and flagship Range Rover full-size SUV are both larger than the Land Rover Discovery. But moving on to the final bit of the video, should you go for the Land Rover or the Range Rover if you're looking to invest in an SUV? This should be an easy choice, really. Shoppers looking for off-road utility with British panache should consider one of Land Rover's two models. On the other hand, luxury-minded buyers who will mostly drive on pavement might be more interested in the Range Rover label. So, what would you love to invest in, a Land Rover or Range Rover? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching.